At the recording of this video, it is currently 51 degrees, Sunday, March 16th, 2025. Welcome to Currently Caffeinating. Today I will be headed over to Seabourne Creek Nature Park. It's a nearby park that's been on my radar to go visit. And I just discovered that this morning at 8 a.m. they're having a free guided nature walk that I wanted to check out. Also, there is a nearby cemetery that I never knew existed, where I just found out that my great-grandmother on my mother's side, my great-grandmother and her brother are buried at, so I wanted to stop by there and pay my respects to them. So join me if you will, but first I need to get caffeinated. Will you? Mr. Duncan is calling my name. Already ordered and paid for my coffee on the app. Just gotta pick it up.
Thank you for choosing. How can I help you?
Yes, I have a mobile order pickup for Greg.
Greg, come to the window, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So she told me to pull up and wait. My coffee's not ready quite yet, but I just noticed something. This used to be a Carl's Jr. hamburger place, and I just noticed the sign is still there. You could see where it used to say Carl's Jr. I mentioned in my previous video how I recently tried and I really love the oat milk latte from Dutch Bros. So I tried to create my version of it on the Dunkin' app. So I'll see how it compares to Dutch Bros. Alright, one hot caffeinated beverage achieved. Now let's go do some nature walking. Made it to Seabourne Creek Park, located at 3831 Highway 36 South. And the sun is out. So according to their Facebook page, it says the public is invited to learn about Seabourne Creek Nature Park. It's a 1 hour and 15-minute nature walk. They are thrilled to showcase the rich biodiversity of Seabourne Creek Nature Park through our 7 habitats. This park is a treasure trove of natural wonders, and we invite visitors to connect with nature, explore its diverse ecosystems, and gain a deeper appreciation for our environment. Enter the park from Highway 36, just south of the Rosenberg Civic Center. Turn in at Stanley Kurcheka Drive by the brown wooden sign and proceed to the parking lot 0.3 miles down on your left. Meet at the stone archway entrance. And there's the stone archway. So yeah, it is a hour and 15-minute nature walk. So I guess today you can call me Ric Flair, the nature boy. In every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the guide to get here, but yeah, this wasn't bad. I still prefer Dutch Bros oat milk lattes, but this wasn't bad. Yeah, it looks like a nice little park. Been meaning to come here for a little while. Like I said earlier, it is about 51 degrees this morning, so it's a little bit chilly. I had to put on the hoodie, but I think there's going to be like a high of 74 today. They got some restrooms out here. I guess Bon Jovi was here.
It was a tall grass prairie, so the grasses would have been 4 to 8 feet tall, and they were everywhere. See, all these trees, none of them were here.
But when you say coastal, I think of water.
Yes, but think of how far we are from the coast. We are about 60 miles from the coast, and the soil here has a lot more salt in it than as you go further north and you're further away from the coast. Okay. So that's why we'll call it coastal prairie. Okay. The tall grass prairie we have is not in this area. The grasses would grow probably about this tall. Mm-hmm. When you get up to Kansas, the tall grass prairies, they'd be 10 to 12 feet tall. So there's difference because of the habitat. And what we're going to talk about today as we walk is how all parts of our habitat are all tied together. The plants, the animals, the air, the geology is all tied together, and if we change one thing, that affects everything else. As we're walking, I want you to be looking and listening. You'll be seeing birds. You'll be hearing sounds. Hopefully you won't be smelling too many things, but you might smell some really good things. This park was originally a cotton farm. There were 3 different properties right here. A man named G.M. Stone bought a league of land from the state of Texas in 1888 and separated it out. And a family called the Yarlings bought a section of it, a large section, in 1912. And they farmed that and had a cotton fields here, as well as a dairy. They raised peaches and figs and what else? Some other fruit. So they had fruit trees. They had a few cows, and the other part was they had a big dairy farm. So they provided the milk for the city of Rosenberg and sold it in I think they said Beasley's Corner stores where you could buy your milk in Rosenberg. So when the city bought this in about 1996, it was an old. No, it wasn't that long ago, and it was a farm field, and they decided that they wanted to make it into a park. So they got a grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife to turn about 160 acres into a nature park. In 2009, the Texas Master Naturalist paired up with the city of Rosenberg and said, can we help you develop this park? Because all they had done is they put in a lake and they tried to do a little wetlands, and there was nothing here. There were no trails. It was pretty sad. And that wasn't a park. So since 2009, Texas Master Naturalists have helped the city of Rosenberg as stewards to create some habitats here so we can bring nature back to what it was like. So we're going to be walking and we'll be able to see all the 7 habitats. So a butterfly garden, the lake, the arboretum, native plant garden. If you're a gardener, you can check out plants to see what you might want to grow. The prairie restoration, wetlands, and the bird sanctuary.
All right, so that's the 7 habitats we'll be looking at today. Thank you.
And right now, you don't see a lot of things flowering because it's just that time of year. But every one of these plants that are here is an attractor for some type of butterfly that either provides a feed or it is a host plant. Because butterflies need specific plants to lay their eggs on. They just won't lay them on anything. You'll notice probably if you have how many of you have grass in your front yard, like St. Augustine? Insects aren't out. If you come later in the day, you'll see butterflies are coming out. I saw my first couple of monarchs and some checkers and a variety of different things the other day. But you will see some of them starting. And when you come here in the summer or in the fall, this place is filled with butterflies.
Native bees. The bumblebee, mason bees, leaf cutter bees, sweat bees, mining bees, carpenter bees. Seabourne Lake.
Well, a little bit, but it's very safe for them. Look where the gourds are. They're really high off the ground, and that means other animals like snakes and things, predators, can't get to them. They like to have a small opening, so larger birds can't get in, because there are large birds that will come in and take their eggs. Here we wouldn't have a very good balance, and insects would take over if we didn't have birds. If we didn't have insects, we wouldn't have any birds. So you have to kind of think about that. And if you didn't have insects, you wouldn't have plants. If you didn't have plants, you would see banded water snakes. They're good for our environment. They're not going to eat you or swallow you up or anything like that. Well, people are like, snakes. We have actually very few snakes that are going to harm us. Yeah, that's a barn swallow. You can tell by his tail is a forked tail. Yeah. And he has like orange underneath. He's fast. They are very fast. They're getting a little different. Your legs get tired. They're better balancing on one foot than I am. They are called yellow-rumped warblers because when they fly off, right back here is a big yellow spot, or birders yellow butternuts. But what we see is they look a lot like but you will see them and they'll be hopping up around the trees. And what's their official name? Yellow-rumped. Here around the pond, we're going to take a walk across the golf course. Oh yeah, whistling ducks. You guys have been seeing those, I'm sure, in ponds everywhere. There's the ducks that... So it is very difficult to find any place where there's native prairie. So what we're trying to do is restore this section. We have 4 small sections that we have divided into native prairie. It's about 20 acres, I want to say. Prairie is not flat. Prairie has some wetlands area, like we have right here. It has bumps. When you walk through it, it is not flat at all. And that partly is because buffalo used to roam through here. And the buffalo would come through and they'd eat down the grasses like your lawnmower does in the spring, or every week, or however often you have to mow. And that would control some of the height of the plants. Prairie fires would come through and burn the prairie. Lightning would start. The Native Americans figured out if you burn prairie, it comes back better and it gets rid of the things that you don't like. When we first started this prairie, we actually did a burn to try and get rid of all the invasive plants that were here. What happens with prairie is things will creep in. You'll notice we have little trees here. Well, this was the line for the Yarlings farm. Here, and then there's a creek way over there. Seabourne Creek is on the other side. And these trees start creeping in because birds eat the seeds from the trees and they distribute them. So it's always a battle to try and keep a prairie a prairie. The other thing and it soaks up all of the water, particularly in our part of Texas, when we get those heavy downpours, and you can get 3 or 4 inches of water. And what happens? well, it runs off into the street, into the bayou, whatever. These really deep roots will soak in all of that water. So this is actually, the more prairie you have, the less flooding you're going to have. Unfortunately, we are now building so much around us and pouring so much concrete, we can't keep up. It stops this from being the sponge. This was our sponge. Surround it. This is called a lemon mound or a pimple mound. The teenagers, when I tell them that, laugh because they think they're sweet fun. And these were scattered around the prairie, and they think that they were built by various mammals that were burrowing, but no one's quite sure how they came to be. But the soils here are different, so you'll get different plants growing here than you get out in the normal, flatter portion of the prairie. All right, this is called a rosinweed. It looks like a sunflower, but you'll notice its leaves are different. And it's one of the first plants that will come up and flower in the spring, the larger plants. This is false geranium. It's a native plant. It has these tiny little white flowers that are some of the first flowers that insects will come to and the butterflies will come to. So when it gets really big, it isn't quite as pretty. So you might go, oh, and pull it out. But it's easy to mow. So if you're a person who, you see, it's low growing. So if you're a person who is trying to replace their yard grass, it's a good spring. It will die back when it deforms. It's a good beginning. Couple minutes. Everything is pretty much marked, so you can learn about whatever plants. I'm going to throw this away and I'll be right back. That's the base.
For a long time, and then they pop out. You don't know till they pop out.
Right.
Well, that's what I wanted.
But yeah, it's filled with in here we have a mother nutria and her little pups live right here on a month ago, sitting right here on the side of the pond. Here, and it's chilly this morning, so there's not a lot of maybe not a lot of
The original cattlemen used to build. Before fencing came in, when you wanted to separate your cattle from other people's cattle, one of the things they would use is this plant called an Osage orange. They grow all the way up in through Kansas, Midwest. And the Osage orange is interesting because the Native Americans would craft their bows from the wood. It's very, very strong hardwood, but it's also flexible. So it will keep sheep, goats, whatever in, because it's hard enough but flexible enough that it doesn't really break off. Right. So, but the oranges themselves, you may have seen them. Yeah, they're these big orange things. Right. They're not, they're hedge apples. They are not, nobody likes to eat them. They don't taste good. But horses like them. Oh. So the horses would eat them. So what the farmers and the ranchers and farmers in this area would do, they would use this as a horse pen. So they would keep their horses, and the horses loved it because they could eat the hedge apples. And they're like, oh, okay, I don't mind going into the pen now. They would not, they would die. But once they get established in the, like over here, and we can walk through this if you want to get a little close up of the prairie.
And is it true, or did I get mixed up, that we use gray water?
Yes, it's all gray water.
All gray water, so it's not like taking city water.
Right. Your dead pieces, particularly if they are hollow, because that's where our native bees lay their eggs and bees develop. Right. So, and it's not just bees. There's wasps. There's all sorts of insects that need to use your leftover stems. So we try and leave them up. And you can see there's a little hole drilled in this one. Yeah, somewhere in here. There are some eggs. Wow. And when they develop, then they'll come out, either they'll drill a little hole out or they'll come out through the top, and they hatch in reverse order. So the first ones that get laid are the last ones that hatch. The bluebonnet is over there. Yay! So the bluebonnet is a pea plant.
It's a what kind?
Pea, in the pea family, like green peas. Yeah. A legume. And toadflax is not. You'll notice that it's totally different, long stem, tiny little needle leaves. This is a milkweed. Create this beautiful, fluffy flower. They'll either be white or pink. Animal-based disease that affects the modern plants, and they don't develop. And it's not a good thing. So you gotta be careful about the milkweed that you plant. Nobody's on the roof. Oh well. Yesterday, this place had like 50 big, huge white birds all over the place, and maybe later this afternoon. This is our wetlands. The wetlands are great because it's an area that it's a low spot, so water that will drain into it, it provides a couple of whistling ducks. This is an owl house for a barn owl. We don't have any barn owls. So you can put up owl houses and you may never get an owl. The reason we put them up is owls need large trees where they can find holes so that they can lay their eggs and nest. And we don't have large trees anymore. We've cut down so many of the large trees. They are one of our largest wading birds in Texas, and they eat fish. They do not swim. They will just go into water up to their knees, and will stand still and wait for the fish to come by. I just wanted to point out that I think the ones in my little bird nest.
This stuff you'll see in your yard. It's called bed straw or sticky willy, and it is the Velcro. It moves around by sticking on you, but it has these tiny little hooks. Buds. Little white, tiny little flowers. Feel free. See the woodpecker on the platform here? Right there, he's eating. That's a red-bellied woodpecker.
Oh, that's a woodpecker? Okay.
It has black spots on its back. And the female cardinal is on this dead tree. You can see she's not as red,
Okay.
but she has a little bit of kind of a reddish tinge to her.
Is there certain trees birds prefer more than others, or does it even matter?
It all depends on the bird.
Okay.
Some trees will attract specific birds. Woodpeckers tend to like dead trees because they can find insects underneath
Okay.
in them. Some birds like something that's low. Sparrows tend to stay low to the ground, so you won't find them up in the trees. The cedar waxwing, like the top of the tree, they'll come in and sit down on them. Some trees with berries in the fall will attract birds. There's a tree called a possum haw and a bush called a beautyberry, and they all attract cardinals and mockingbirds.
Okay.
They like those things.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool trails out here. Definitely have to come back and check it out more. Now we're going to the bird blind.
These are not mushrooms. It is a fungus, but it is not a mushroom. This is I want to say it's called, I can't remember, turkey tail. Or, I looked it up yesterday.
This is dog vomit.
Yeah, that's dog vomit. I think this is turkey tail. I'm pretty sure. Now, Papa say, oh, this looks like...
Connected to the sound of water. So if you have a little water feature in your yard, you can attract birds. Also brings in small wildlife. There's a little platform that yesterday had a pile of seed that were about 8 inches tall. So it's all been eaten. Probably squirrels probably got some of it. But I know there were cardinals in here yesterday, and titmice were all in the trees over here. Titmice are little gray birds that look a little bit like a cardinal, but they're gray and a little smaller. And this is out of Cornell University. Ibis, white ibis, they have a red bill and red legs, and the bill is deep blue. They are water birds. And on the far rack is a small bird called the snowy egret. The big bird that was here was the great egret, and this is the snowy egret. The plants that were along here, and these plants were bushes about this tall, and lots of warblers and birds would hang out in there. Look at that. When people look at this, they think dandelion. This is actually the Texas false dandelion. It's not a dandelion at all.
The leaf is different.
They have a lighter flower. It's in the dandelion family, but it is a native.
Like a little chrysanthemum.
It's also red, like a turkey. Right. Right? I see it. Yeah. The black vulture has a black head. You've seen them. They're everywhere.
The black one?
The black ones are everywhere. And their wings are black, except for it's white on the tips on the bottom. Okay. And their tails are a little shorter, and they hold their wings a little different. But the difference between them is this vulture has really good eyesight. So he can see all the dead things on the ground. The black vultures have terrible eyesight. Excuse me, opposite. Opposite, sorry. These guys have really good smell, so they smell dead, rotting things. Okay. So they find the dead stuff. The black vultures have great eyesight but can't smell worth anything. So they look to find where these guys are, and they all come in. So when you see large groups of vultures, they're probably mostly black vultures because they're together in groups. The turkey vultures go out in pairs.
Or lonely.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was pretty fun. It was actually a 2-hour nature walk, not an hour and 15 minutes as advertised, but nonetheless, I had a lot of fun. It was nice to do some nature walking. Well, I made it to West Gethseman Cemetery, but unfortunately, it's locked. That's a bummer. So yeah, that was a disappointment. I even went online to look at the hours and didn't show anything. Didn't give much information about the cemetery, so I'll have to try back some other time. But I guess it's like Benny Hill once said about putting gates around cemeteries. The people on the inside can't get out, and the people on the outside don't want in. So the lady from the nature walk gave me this packet of seeds to plant. She said wait until the fall to plant them. I'll have to get me a flower pot, but they're Indian blanket lance leaf, black-eyed Susan pollinator seeds. Well, since I couldn't visit with my great-grandmother, I came here to Greenlawn to visit with my mom. Well, that's going to do it for my video for today. As always, thank you for watching. Be safe, be kind, stay caffeinated.